Denzel, Macbeth, loved it. I love the part where it said, King Lear don't got nothing on me. Y'all gotta see it, it's really good. You know who's got the hardest job tonight? Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Get my name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. Okay. So we are here to give a documentary out, to give an Oscar out for Best Documentary. Now, the beauty of documentaries, because they make you, when you watch one, you feel smart. Like you watched them, like, you know, like you read a book or something. But all you really did was get high and watch Netflix. So here we go. Here we go.
Chris Rock said, wow. I think all across the world, people were saying, wow. That's exactly what I was saying when we saw what took place when Will Smith walked on stage and hit Chris Rock in the mouth. Now, many people thought what took place was a part of the act, thought it was staged. In the United States, what we saw was we actually saw there was a delay, and all of a sudden there was a skipping point. The audio dropped out. Well, the video you just saw was the international feed, because remember, the Oscars is a worldwide telecast, and so that was the Australian feed. Then you had the Japanese feed, where you did not have a delay like you had in the United States. And then as the night went on, then they went to a commercial break. And then someone who was at the event put this video on social media, and you'll see Denzel Washington. I'm sorry. Not Denzel, Denzel. Remember me corrected about it? His name is Denzel. Denzel Washington and Tyler Perry and Bradley Cooper, you see them consoling Will Smith, and then you see Denzel walking over to Jada, consoling her. Roland. Yes.
Yeah, I think so, but I can't see the third person. Oh, yeah. Is that Jamie Dornan, maybe?
And we are 30 seconds away. We need to clear down front, please. We're going to come into the audience at the beginning of this act. Please take your seats. Thank you. 25 seconds. Please clear the aisles down front. Please clear the front, please. Clear. Thank you. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3.
Now, again, folks, absolutely shocked by this. after it happened, Will Smith returns to his seat. Now, what you did not see there, because a lot of people are saying that people were there to console Will Smith and not Chris Rock, not true. Denzel Washington went up to the stage, and actually there was a photo that circulated where he actually was talking to Chris Rock, calming the situation down. Completely unexpected, and trust me, the producers had no idea. Last night when it happened, I texted a number of people who were in the room, including the folks involved. Yes, Will, Chris, and others sent various text messages to them, and so that wasn't planned. I know people are saying, oh, that looked fake. That was not fake. That actually happened. That was real. Folks have been saying all kind of stuff today. Oh my goodness, what was this all about? In a moment, we're going to show you what Chris Rock said, cracked the joke about Jada 6 years ago, but a few later, after all this happened, they awarded Best Actor. And Will Smith actually went up and accepted. He won. He's been winning that for King Richard in all of the award shows. And he addressed what happened, and he apologized, but not to everybody.
Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family. In this time in my life, in this moment, I am overwhelmed by what God is calling on me to do and be in this world. Making this film, I got to protect Ingenue Ellis, who was one of the strongest, most delicate people I've ever met. I got to protect Sanaya and Demi, the two actresses that played Venus and Serena. I'm being called on in my life to love people and to protect people and to be a river to my people. Now, I know to do what we do, you got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you got to be able to have people disrespecting you. And you got to smile and you got to pretend like that's okay. But Richard Williams, and what I loved, thank you, D. Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, he said, at your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you. It's like, I want to be a vessel for love. I want to say thank you to Venus and Serena. I just spit. I hope they didn't see that on TV. I want to say thank you to Venus and Serena and the entire Williams family for entrusting me with your story. That's what I want to do. I want to be an ambassador of that kind of love and care and concern. I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. This is a beautiful moment, and I'm not crying for winning an award. It's not about winning an award for me. It's about being able to shine light on all of the people, Tim, and Trevor and Zach and Sanaya and Demi and Ingenue and the entire cast and crew of King Richard and Venus and Serena, the entire Williams family.
Now, remember, people don't realize there's history here when we're talking about Chris Rock at the Oscar ceremony and Jada and Will. This is when Chris was hosting the Oscars 6 years ago in 2016.
Spike got mad, and Jonathan got mad, and Jada went mad, and Will went mad. Everybody went mad. You know, it's quite like Jada got mad. Jada says she's not coming, protesting. I'm like, is she on a TV show? Jada's gonna boycott the Oscars. Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited. Oh, that's not an invitation I would turn down.
All right, I want to unpack this. Dr. Jeffrey Gardier joined us. He's a board-certified clinical psychologist from Weston, Connecticut. Glad to have him back on the show. Robin May, a licensed professional counselor from Decatur, Georgia. Glad to have you here. Also on my panel is Dr. Julian Malveaux, Dean, College of Ethnic Studies, California State University, Los Angeles. Dr. Amakongo Dibinga, professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, political analyst. So, Robin, I want to start with you. Last night was real difficult. It was difficult because I know Will, I know Jada, I know Chris, I know many of the people who were there last night. I saw a lot of people, sisters who I know, talking about protect black women, defend black women. Jada dealing with alopecia, losing her hair. There were people who were talking about toxic masculinity, and they were saying Team Will and Team Chris, and Chris should not have been doing those jokes. Others who were saying, look, man, it's a joke. You got to take a joke. They were hitting other people in the room as well. What we're not going to do tonight is try to go deep into, oh, why did Will do this? Oh, was it entanglement? Was it this? Was it this? He should have done this to the other person. What we need to focus on, and what I want to focus on, is the fact that a grown black man on an international stage walked up and smacked another grown black man in his face. And Robin, we have to deal with the issue how we handle situations that does not involve violence.
Absolutely. You know, Roland, I literally was speechless last night. My husband had to keep rewinding it because I refused to watch it. And I believe what we saw last night was a display of what happens when we don't consistently do the work. I don't know them the way you do. I don't know them at all. And so it's very easy for me to be on the outside looking in. But I believe what we saw was this. The truth is, that was just 10% of what's going on. Anybody who's done therapy or psychology one-on-one knows that that's just 10% of what is really going on. There was a lot happening in that moment. And to your point, trying to dissect that is fruitless at this point. What we do need to identify, though, is that what we saw is when you don't consistently deal with your stuff, when you stuff, when you ignore, when you put it on the shelf, it will come out. And it will come out in ways that you may never have expected. And so I think the issue has been convoluted. Of course, we must protect Black women. Of course, there is a real thing called toxic masculinity. Of course, there are times when jokes can go too far. But I think we're convoluting the issue. And to your very point, what we need to determine is there a standard of expectation of how we behave when we are triggered? Because What we don't realize, one of my girlfriends is a teacher in Philly, and she shared with us that this morning the news cameras were outside of her school because her school is right near an area where there's a mural of Will Smith. And so these teachers were having to talk to their students about is that okay? Was that behavior okay? And so I think the bigger question, the bigger idea is, do we want to call for a standard of behavior? And what happens when you don't deal with your own triggers, when you don't deal with your stuff consistently? What are the ramifications of that?
Jeff, I'm gonna do something here. Guys, pull up the video that we started with, because I think it's important for people, Jeff, to walk through and to understand what we witnessed. And so, folks, play the video and listen to my cue, and I want you to stop it, because I'm gonna do this for a reason. Press play.
Denzel, Macbeth, loved it. I love the part where it said, King Lear don't got nothing on me. Y'all gotta see it, it's really good. You know who's got the hardest job tonight? Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord.
Freeze. Now, Chris tells a joke, Jeff, about Denzel and Javier and Penelope. Joke is over. Then he transitions to the joke about Jada. Press play.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
Stop. What you see right there, no, go back to what you see right there, Jeff, Will laughs at the joke. The room laughs at the joke. You see the look on Jada's face. Press play.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here.
Freeze.
Richard.
So, Jeff, in between laughing, the room responds. Then Will stands up. You heard Robin say triggering. Something happened between him laughing at the joke, room responding, and then him standing up. And it's in that moment where everything changed.
Yeah, what I think I saw, I'm not totally sure here, but what I think I saw was that he was laughing at the joke, whether he was nervously laughing, just going along with the room. But then when he sees the look on his wife's face, when he looks at Jada's face, and she rolls her eyes, and she's not appreciating that joke. And let's be aware here, Roland, that Chris Rock made jokes about other people more about perhaps their film roles or character or relationships. That joke made about Jada was about her personal appearance, and therefore it was a more perhaps raw joke. And so that's just an aside, but bottom line is, I believe that when Will saw Jada's face and saw how hurt she may have been or how annoyed she was by that, then felt perhaps some sort of obligation to react in a way, certainly an overreaction, but to protect her in some sort of way, certainly not the right way, but the need to do something.
And many people have been saying, you can't let somebody disrespect your wife. You must protect your wife. And I totally understand their point. But when you are also the one who then initiates the physical assault, and folks, let me be real clear. We witnessed a physical assault, Will Smith against Chris Rock. You put your hands on somebody else unprovoked, words are not, that ain't it. That's not stand your ground. Okay, that's not self-defense. That's a physical assault, which is why the LAPD released their statement saying that Chris Rock, they said a person who was involved chose not to pursue a police report, was not going to press charges. But the thing right there, Robin and Jeff, that I think is important is that when Will makes that move to stand up, that's also the moment when, for me, your wife has to reach over, babe, hold up. See, it's in those moments where husband has to know when to let the wife know, hold up. Wife, lets husband know, hold up, because when you escalate a situation, then it goes to a whole new level as opposed to allowing something to pass. You might be angry, you might be hurt, you might be pissed off, but when you then escalate it, then it goes to a whole new level, Robin.
Yeah, and I think, people are often surprised when I share this with them, Roland, when the reason why therapists like me, and I'm sure Dr. Jeff, we often stress the importance of knowing your triggers, because what happens is in our brains, once you get triggered, I like to describe it like a roller coaster. Have you ever been on a roller coaster and it's going up and it gets to the top and you feel like, wait a minute, I'm ready to get off of this thing, but now it's going down and you've lost control. What happens when we are triggered and our anger starts to rise? Some psychologists have found that as your anger rises, your IQ goes down. And so that's why we stress the importance of getting in there and knowing what your triggers are, and not only knowing what your triggers are, to your point, Roland, having people around you who can help you, or having go-to tools that you can pull from, because once that train gets up the track, or once that roller coaster starts going up, it's very difficult to pull it back. So that's why I continue to harp on the fact that several things can be true at the same time. He absolutely could have been triggered, and it is absolutely true that there are consequences from that type of behavior. And so I would love for all of us to continue, like you're doing, Roland, to elevate the conversation, because here's the bottom line. Joe at work tomorrow won't have the same luxuries that Will had. I won't have the same luxuries that Will had. If I behave in that way, the consequences are going to be so much different. So it's important for us to take this and elevate the conversation and encourage people, figure out what your triggers are and understand how your brain works. Understand the importance of taking those 3 seconds to do some deep breaths so that you can calm down that trigger so that you can act more appropriately.
Jeff, it's interesting, Jeff. I was just sitting here looking, we've got thousands of people who are on our YouTube channel, watching the Black Star Network app. And there's this person on the app, Queen something, I don't know what the hell, Queen Sag. Roland talk, all that shit, but he's soft AF. Now, here's what's interesting. First of all, Queen, you can't trigger me. The words don't mean nothing. We all grew up and we were told sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me. See, Jeff, it was very interesting when I watched that. I thought back to something when I was in high school. We were at my brother's high school in Jones High School in Houston, and my dad was driving, my mom was in the driver's seat, and we're in the back seat, and we were backing up, and you had some brothers, they were hanging out, music playing, talking loud, and they sort of were blocking us, and then my dad reacted, he was like, damn it! He was ticked at the guys. My mom, Reginald, she really calms him. Now, why is that important? Because in that split of a second, the decision is, I can fast forward. If you get out, confront them, it may lead to a fight, somebody may get stabbed, somebody may get shot. All of a sudden, if it goes horribly bad, I'm a widow with 5 kids. Flip side, Jeff, my parents were visiting me. My dad came to the office with me. We were leaving the office, and we were pulling out, and these folks were sitting here blocking, and I got upset at them. I was like, damn it, move the hell away. My dad was like, son, calm down. And then he said, when last time you went to the doctor to get your blood pressure checked? I was like, Dad, my blood pressure's fine. But it was interesting because I witnessed as a kid, my mom bring the situation down because it could escalate. And what I learned from that as a kid, Jeff, is if I bumped into a bruh in the club, I didn't immediately go to, damn, what's wrong with you, punk? Say, bro, my bad, sorry about that. How we react to a situation then determines how the situation either escalates or de-escalates.
Well, I agree with you. You had made a point earlier about perhaps Jada should have reached over and stopped him. I hate to think of this being about Jada or something that Jada did wrong or could not.
Oh, he should have stopped himself.
Right.
But I'm just saying that when you're with, I've experienced that when somebody is about to go there, to Robin's point, they ain't thinking right. You need somebody else to say, hold up.
Right, and I think it's hard for us to give an analysis, not being there, trying to figure out what happened. But certainly, this is something that could have happened in a split second, not giving her enough time or even understanding what was about to happen with getting up in that way. But all of that being said, I think we're all really, moving in the right track here. We can't go back and change what happened. But certainly this needs to be a lesson to everyone that when you're in that fight and flight sort of situation and the adrenaline is pumping and you have that rage and you just don't know what to do with it, don't do anything with it unless you're saving someone's life, protecting someone's life. These issues of, using jokes or saying something that hurts someone, you have to have that social IQ. You have to own that situation by saying, okay, we're going to stay calm, but we're having a discussion about that later on. And that's something he could have done during the acceptance speech, because I think we all knew that he was going to win, this Oscar. That's something that he could have had a conversation with Chris Rock later on. But what I believe he did, and I feel badly for everyone involved, I really believe that he dishonored himself. He dishonored his family by behaving in that way, by doing something like that in front of the whole world. And this is something that, that Will has to live with for the rest of his life.
And there you go. The moment, and this is, he has been waiting for this moment. He wanted to win it for Concussion, for other movie roles, and Mountaintop. You at the mountaintop. This is the crowning achievement of your career, winning Best Actor. Only the fourth African American in history. Sidney Poitier, Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx, Forrest Whitaker. The fifth. Will becomes the fifth to win Best Actor. On the 20th anniversary of Halle and Denzel winning. Her becoming the first black woman to win Best Actress, Denzel winning his second one. But the thing why this is important, Robin and Jeff, is because here are two rich black men at the Oscars. That same situation we've seen on the streets, in clubs, on the basketball court. We've seen it in the school hallway. And it is important for us to say that even if you're Will Smith, even if you're Chris Rock, even if you're Jada Pinkett Smith, if you're anybody else, how you resolve a conflict, and you cannot go to the violence piece. And trust me, I got a wife, I got 3 sisters, I got 9 nieces, a mama. I am absolutely there when it comes to protecting black women. But part of protecting black women is also black men protecting yourself by not creating a situation where you may not be around tomorrow.
Roland, that's the reason why the response,
where that reputation may be harmed, and the reputation of others. Unfortunately, Will took a lot out of that situation, really, sucked the air out of that room. There were so many people who were celebrating. There were many firsts there. First for sexualities, first for, many things. We saw it was well integrated in a way that we really needed to see. And so let me share this with you. Very quick, super quick story. I was at a wedding with my wife about 2 years ago. Someone said something to her, and I was very offended by it, and it was very offensive. Look, I protect my wife, I protect my children. but I knew that if I acted out at that wedding, it would destroy the wedding for the people who are getting married. I would end up in jail. What is Dr. Jeff doing in jail after an assault, right? And certainly I would have to deal with the repercussion of overreacting. If you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. As psychologists, we talk about impulse control. That would have ruined me professionally. And so I think that's what everyone needs to think about before they act out when they're in that rage, the importance of breathing, sitting back, and figuring out how to use your social IQ to work through that situation.
Robin?
Okay, and so here's the deal. If I have a 7-year-old daughter, if my 7-year-old daughter jumps in the pool, she's going to make a little wave. But honey, if I jump in the pool, my wave is going to be much bigger than Riley's. What is my point? Will carries a lot of power. And so when he makes, and the reality is that power has opened up doors and opportunity for him. So the same way it's opened up doors and opportunity is the same way it's important that how he responds and others with any type of platform, how they respond to your point, Roland, will have long-term ramifications. If we celebrate this, if we minimize this, what we are teaching is that it is okay to respond physically. Now, here is the point, exactly what Dr. Jeff said, but the challenge is you can't learn the tools in the moment. You have to have the tools beforehand. You have to already know how you choose to handle when you are triggered. You can't get in the moment and say, somebody give me some tools. That's the importance of developing social IQ, emotional IQ well before you're in that moment. And let me say this last thing that's important for us to understand with the commentary that we are hearing. People view, human nature is that we view situations through our own lived experiences. We view situations through our lived experiences. And so when I'm scrolling through Facebook, I can tell what people have been through based on how intense their response is. And it takes great intention to step back and look at a situation objectively so that we can pull back, hopefully, some of the long-term ramifications that can come from this. Will Steele has an opportunity to course correct. He cannot fix, but he can course correct and he can change the conversation because, to everyone's point, this was the first Oscar produced by Will Packer, by a Black man.
No. Hold up. It was an all-Black production team. It's not the first. Quincy Jones produced the Oscars the night when Whoopi Goldberg did it before. Reggie Hutler's been one of the producers. Jesse Collins was on the production team last year. So I just want people have been saying that it's the first, the lead. Yeah. So just to let everybody know, the lead production team, all Black, Will Packer, my frat brother, and Shayla. But you've had Blacks leading the production team of the Oscars before. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for correcting that because I was over here with my poster board about it being the first time.
Yeah.
But still to that very point, a Black production team with a Black male actor, with a Black comedian, the reality is we cannot, and this is just the conversation I want us to really have, we cannot minimize the ripple effect. And so this is an opportunity to, if you have a platform, if you have 500 to 10,000 people on your Facebook, on your Instagram, how you communicate about this will be the game changer. And I'm just hoping that will course correct and will communicate this in a way that can change the idea that physical response or violent response is appropriate.
Last question for you, Jeff, and then I'm going to go to the panel. Do you believe that the next step, and again, the Academy, they're launching an investigation. They may take action against Will. Do you believe the next step should be where Will Smith and Chris Rock sit down face to face and Will apologizes for his actions? Or do you believe Chris should apologize for the joke? What do you think should happen next, Jeff? Because here's the deal. This is not going away. My social media feed has been this all day long. It's not going away.
I think certainly that Will should sit down with Chris Rock because that will show how we can work out our disagreements. This is along what Robin is saying. where do we take the narrative next? And it is about conflict resolution, because friends or acquaintances or people you don't even know, sometimes you may get into some sort of an issue or a conflict, but it's important to work it out because we grow from one another. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with Chris Rock saying, if he hasn't done it already, to say, Jada, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, land that low blow. I didn't realize that it was something that was so sensitive to you. I was just making a joke, but I hurt you and I apologize. But I think the bigger apology at this point needs to come from Will Smith to not just Chris Rock, but to everyone at the Academy, to everyone, of color, to everyone in America, to everyone in the world, and then show his class and be able to grow from that and deal with whatever issues that he still needs to deal with. I believe that's where the narrative really needs to go.
Robert May, Dr. Jeff Gardia, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's go to my panel. I want to start first with Julianne Malveaux. Julianne, how did you look at this? How did you assess it? But also, how do you look at the reaction of so many different people in the aftermath of this, especially Black men and Black women?
Well, I think Sister Robin had a really good point when she talked about triggers, and the issue is who's triggered by what. Now, I find Chris Rock to be extremely misogynistic, and I think he crossed the line. I'm a little pugilistic, Roland, so if I was a dude, I probably would have smacked him too. And that's not the politically correct answer. But he has talked under Jada's clothes more than once. And Will probably is obviously sensitive about it. And when I saw Jada roll her eye, she was like, I'm just not having this today. Now, I don't know if she said something to Will, because he did laugh at it at first. And then he kind of, gathered himself. But I think that Chris Rock needs to watch himself. And I think Will Smith also needs to watch himself, because even though I said I would have slapped him, obviously I wouldn't have. I could have got up on the stage. But it was wrong. Physical violence is always wrong, and we all know that. Metaphoric violence, not so much. I was horrified by the whole thing because of everything everybody has said. But at the same time, I'm looking at this misogynistic man who constantly says ugly things about Black women. Not women, Black women. And we deserve to be lifted up, not dragged down by that kind of thing. Alopecia is serious. As women, our attractiveness is seen in our hair. Even folks like me, I can grow hair, but I don't have much. And folks, can you grow hair? I remember when I was at Bennett College, a board member sent me a box of hair products so that I could grow my hair out. Didn't want to. But our attractiveness as women is connected to our crowning glory. And so that was ugly and unnecessary. We know the sisters like Ayanna Pressley, Congresswoman, who has alopecia. That was just ugly and unnecessary. And while he didn't necessarily, the whole encounter was ugly, Chris Rock started it.
Avis?
Okay, so I'm going to continue down the lane of perhaps being unpolitically correct.
Well, the show's called Unfiltered for a reason.
Wonderful. So
you got
when I look at this, take in everything in terms of what happened and even the discussion that we just had, two quotes come to mind. First, Malcolm X, Black women are the most disrespected and the most unprotected. Second is Zora Neale Houston, Black women are the mules of the world. And I put those two quotes together because of this. What happened, and the reason why I think you're seeing the differences, particularly among the sexes and generally in terms of the interpretation of this, is that as Black women, we understand that it is often that we are publicly disparaged with regards to our physical appearance. We understand that in this culture, our beauty is not held up as the quote unquote beauty standard. We also know that our hair is oftentimes, even as little girls, tends to often be the butt of our jokes, butt of people's jokes against us. And that is something that can literally last a lifetime, all right? Now, I will say this also about Jada Pinkett Smith's autoimmune disease, which led to the alopecia. Here's the thing. She spoke about this months ago. and talked about how traumatic it was being in the shower and having clumps of her hair falling out, and at first not really even understanding what was going on, and how for so many years she enjoyed having hair and styling it different ways and using that as part of an expression of her self-identity. And guess what? Will was there the entire time. He likely wiped her tears. He saw the trauma that she was going through in terms of this health experience that she had, which led to the loss of her hair. And to sit there beside his wife and have, who, by the way, is also an actress. So she's not just Will Smith's wife, she's an actress. She was there not only being witnessed by the whole world in terms of having this very personal and offensive joke specifically targeted at her appearance, that happened to her in front of her professional peers. And we also know that in Hollywood, particularly for women, your physical attractiveness is directly connected to your check and whether or not you can get a chance to get the next job. And so I found it to be a personal attack on her as a woman. I found it to be a personal attack on her specifically as a Black woman. I found it to be a personal attack on her professional respect that she should have been given. And I can't imagine, I saw a lot of people say, and a lot of Black men saying, oh, he wouldn't have done that if it was a white male comedian. Well, I would venture to say that Chris Rock would not have chastised a white female actress on her appearance in that way. I just found it to be supremely offensive, supremely misogynistic, not only misogynistic, misogynoir-like, specifically attacking this Black woman. And quite frankly, I understand why Will did what he did. I am completely Team Will. Yes, he's going to have blowback because of this. I'm waiting for the apology from Chris Rock. And I specifically have to say really quickly, I find it offensive that anyone would want to shift the responsibility for Will's behavior on Jada Pinkett Smith. That's the part where the mule of the world comes in. Okay, so Black women, we're supposed to not only take abuse, we're responsible for stopping people's behavior before it happens. No, okay, Will is grown.
But Avis, let's stay right on that particular point there. Because again, if we take this example outside of the Oscars, and we take this in our communities, we have the examples of individuals where there have been differences, where words were exchanged, and folks ended up dead. And when we've seen these things happen, we go, man, I can't believe that thing went from that to that. We've seen the stories of folks at a party, and then all of a sudden something is said and words exchange, and it immediately goes to guns get pulled out, innocent bystanders getting killed. So at what point in this conversation do we say we have to resolve differences that does not involve violence?
I am not saying, first of all, I just don't want us to conflate issues, because I think what you're talking about is a broader issue of community violence that absolutely...
No, I'm not. I'm talking a very specific one. I'm talking examples of brothers who bump each other in a club, or someone steps on a shoe, words escalate, as opposed to saying, say, bruh, my bad, then all of a sudden there's a shooting. What I'm saying is, last night was a perfect example. Something is said, you feel disrespected, and Will's response was to walk up and slap him in the face. You take that very situation outside the Oscars and anywhere else, and things are going to escalate. We do have to isolate that and say, how do we, when you're faced with a conflict, how do you resolve it that doesn't entail you punching somebody in the face?
Well, once again, I see that as apples and oranges. I certainly think it is horrible, and there needs to be a better way of resolving minor infractions on people, stepping on people's shoes, all of that stuff. We know that has happened. But I'm thinking about this from a 1,000-foot level in terms of how Black women are commonly disrespected. And I'm thinking about it from a historic standpoint in terms of, by contrast, how white womanhood has always been overly protected, which also has led to the death of Black men. Let's be real about that, okay? And so what I'm saying right now, though, is we have to have some real, very specific conversations about all the things that may have been going on with Will to trigger him. And I'll just quickly say, because I get mad every time I see another meme around August and entanglements, okay? Because here's an example of my take on toxic masculinity. This is not how people oftentimes have been talking about this in relation to this. But I find it very interesting that a couple who have said that they had a period in which they were apart, in which it seems like they had somewhat of an open marriage arrangement, but when it became public that the female of that couple had a relationship, all of a sudden, not only is she very much attacked, but Will is very much attacked for staying with her. Now, contrast that against Chris Rock, who has been very open about his multiple infidelities against his wife, which ultimately led to his divorce, which is why he don't have a wife right now to protect, all right? Yet I have yet to see one meme about that behavior. Yet I have yet to see one person criticize him around doing something to destroy his family, rather seeing all of this criticism against both Will and Jada, who have chosen to maintain their family. You know, I think there's a lot that we need to unpack here about how we are treating people differently in ways that puts Black women at the center of a bullseye in terms of being bullied, in terms of being shamed, in terms of being disrespected in multiple ways. And I think that night, Will had enough. And as I can't remember who it was a comedian who said this once. And I remember he said, "It may not have been right, but I understand." And I have to.
Yeah, Avis. The comedian you're quoting is Chris Rock.
Oh, well then.
I'm a Congo. You're quoting Chris. You're actually quoting Chris Rock, but you're quoting a comedic routine.
Yeah.
So hold up. You're not quoting a speech or a keynote. You're quoting a comedic routine which was done talking about O.J. Simpson and Nicole Simpson, which also was a joke. And that's the issue right there on Congo that people are raising, that, hey, at these award shows, they have comedians there, they make jokes. The show opened with a joke about Regina Hall saying, yeah, Will, come on up. Y'all thing is open. Yeah, I know you're married, but come on up here. She laughed, he laughed. And so what people are also saying is like, hold up. Now, you laugh at the joke at the top Regina made, but then you get mad at the joke that Chris made. Now, if we gonna sit here and say, well, you know, don't make jokes about the entanglement, Regina did, both laughed. These are the things that we're dealing with here, but the point that I'm still making on Congo, people also are looking at this. It's how we resolve differences, and I'm just simply saying the way to resolve it is not slapping somebody in the mouth, because Chris Rock, actually, if he responded, and we got to be honest here, Chris Rock was the ultimate professional with how he responded. Chris could have swung on Will. Chris could have fired back and lit off a litany of jokes, Robin Harris style, but Chris didn't, gathered himself, moved forward, presented the award. Questlove wins the Oscar for Best Documentary. Congo, your thoughts?
You know, this hurts. I'm going to start there. This really, really hurts in terms of the community. You know, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith have been role models for me since day one. I've been rolling with them since the 80s and the 90s. As someone who was involved, you know, I still rap, I do spoken word acting and stuff, but when I was looking at going hard in it, those guys were my role models. So any affection any of y'all have for any celebrity, like strong affection, those two are for me. So, and then Chris Rock a little bit later on. And today I taught my class on Jay-Z at American University, and our subject today was actually the Jay-Z beef between Jay-Z and Nas. And so I'm going to quote a Jay-Z line as I give my response to this in one of his songs. He says, "Check out my swag, yo, I walk like a ball player. No matter where you go, you are what you are, player. And you can try and change, but that's just the top layer. Man, you was who you was before you got here. My issue is this. I feel like there's an overarching idea of misogyny that encompasses what Will Smith did and what Chris Rock did. Because the fact of the matter is that I don't hear people talk that much about Jada, but I'm wondering if Will Smith was defending Jada or if he was defending his wife. When you read his book, Will, which was a very powerful book and motivational for me because I love what he has done so much, he talks about a situation where his girlfriend at the time was going out and he was with his boys and he was like, "Nah, I think you should go upstairs." And she's like, "No, I'm going out. Nah, you should stay." But she leaves. He takes all of her stuff and burns it. Okay? He talks about that. He also talks about coming from an abusive household where he felt that he couldn't protect his mother from his father's abuse. And then we talk about situations at NBC with the Fresh Prince when he almost gets into fights with producers there. And he talks about how his old mentality comes out. And I feel like that was a situation there. And I feel like given that he was laughing when the joke was first given and saw her response, there was more about protecting what's mine than protecting Jada. Don't, keep my wife out of your name out of your mouth. And that's where I find it to be problematic. I think that what Chris Rock did was wrong. I feel like Will Smith might not have responded as much if it was like The Rock as opposed to Chris Rock. But I feel like ultimately Will Smith has to take the full blame for what happened because you can't do that, especially when you work to build your career as a role model. And for those who defend him, we can't condone violence between us and then condemn violence against us. It's wrong. We can't do that, period, bottom line. And so I'm saying that we need to figure out how they can work this thing out. She crafted his whole career about being a role model for the people, and he let our people down in that moment, and it needs to be recognized. But it just hurts all the way around. I hate the way Jada's being tossed around as some type of football in this situation is wrong, and we just need to do better in our community. And the last thing, Roland, like you said, us defending our wives does not have to lead to violence. And it's very easy for us to be taken from our community, incarcerated, lose our job, lose our children, and all of that other type of stuff. And whether you're at the Oscars or whether you're in the hood or whether you're on a job, we have to be mindful of that. There's lots of ways to protect your family without resorting to physical violence, especially public violence. Will Smith has a larger platform than Chris Rock. There's a lot of ways he could get back at him. He can get his revenge. He can get his payback, and he can defend his wife. There's lots of ways you could do it. Violence can't be part of it.
As I said last night on Instagram, as I said when I started this, just like you said, Congo, it was painful, it was difficult, because I know the players involved. This whole award season, every time Will won an award, I would send him a text, congratulations. And I actually sent him a text before the award show. I frequently communicate with Tyler Perry and Denzel's wife, Pauletta, and others, people who were in there. So yeah. Matter of fact, I didn't go to bed till 5:30 because I was on the phone last night with other comedians, other folks in Hollywood. Folks were like, this was traumatic for a lot of people because it was complete. No one in their right mind would have said on their bingo card, Will Smith's gonna smack Chris Rock at the Oscars. Nobody. If somebody told you that, you'd be like, you've got to be high.
Yeah.
But I will say this.
Sorry.
And I know this is hard for some brothers to hear, and I know it's hard for some sisters to hear, but I'm saying this from the vantage point of being a son of my daddy and mama, of being a grandson of my grandparents, of being an uncle. Strength is also in walking away. Strength is also reacting in a way that does not escalate. Imagine if Will Smith, who I love dearly and respect, imagine if Will Smith had walked to that stage and said, Chris, you my man, we ain't making jokes about alopecia, bro. That's a major issue affecting my wife. That's a major issue affecting women all across this world. Now, I know you make jokes, but there's some things we don't joke about. So, Chris, you did a documentary called Good Hair. So you know what the hair thing means to black women and women all across the world. So, Chris, I say we show some respect for women. Let's not make jokes about their hair. If Will had done that, the room would have erupted. The country would have erupted. And folks would be praising Will today for defending his wife and speaking to the same issue as opposed to throwing a punch. It's all a matter of how you resolve the situation and deal with the situation. And I'm gonna close on this. And I was looking for the video. If y'all find the video, please, y'all can go ahead and play it. There was a party, and I think it was after the BET Awards or whatever. And Diddy was on stage. And Diddy got Ciroc. And so Diddy, y'all, I know y'all don't have it, but I'm describing it for y'all can look it up. Look up T.I., Diddy, Party, Ciroc. Trust me, it's gonna come up. Diddy's at the on stage. Diddy is shouting Ciroc. Somebody in the audience said, damn that Grey Goose. Diddy starts yelling and screaming at the brother in the audience. And voices begin to rise. And it begins to get heated. And Diddy is cussing him out. Dude is cussing him out. Damn that, F this, Ciroc, no Grey Goose. And then T.I. walks over and says, hey, damn that. Man, we ain't about to sit here and go to jail over some alcohol. T.I. says, man, I just got out of prison. So we gonna chill out, play the music, enjoy ourselves, and have a good time. If T.I. had not if T.I. had not done that back and forth over alcohol could have escalated to a whole different situation. All I'm saying is when something goes down, you get to determine what the outcome is going to be based upon your actions. Me, as a black man, my mama and daddy taught me that. My grandparents taught me that. I've taught that to my nieces and nephews. Our reaction leads to a counter reaction. And our reaction can very well determine what then happens and when something escalates. And so all I'm saying, you can protect sisters, you can protect brothers. And what I also desire of my sisters is that if you are in a situation and you see your man about to go left, grab him. Say, bruh, I need you to chill. But to brothers, I want you not to have to put your woman in a situation where she grabs you. I want you to take a pause and quickly assess, is this how I want this thing to go? Because like Jeff and Robin said, and this really is a sad piece, for the rest of Will Smith's life, when they talk about March 27th, 2022, when he won Best Actor, they will always associate that epic night, not with his speech, not with the adulation from the crowd, they will always associate it with him slapping Chris Rock. And people will not be talking about how he won the Best Actor for King Richard. They'll be talking about how he struck Chris Rock. And that, folks, is what's most unfortunate. Pray for all the folks involved. I hope Chris and Will sit down, because we as brothers, and I'm talking right now, I am not talking to sisters, I'm talking to black men. We as black men have got to learn to sit down across from one another at the table of brotherhood and learn to communicate with each other to resolve our differences. Because you cannot resolve differences with these or with a gun.
Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Wow, Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?